Welcome to the Demystifying Money podcast, where each week you will hear unforgettable conversations with expert guests about success, money, business, and small steps you can take to elevate your life and wealth. Now here's your host, Misty
Hello,
Lynch.
everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Demystifying Money. I'm excited to talk about a very big business. I'm speaking today with my friend Marika Grantham, and she is the owner of Shine MedSpa and Microblading in Wakefield, Massachusetts. And we're going to talk today about her business, how she helps people, and the reason why I find this business incredibly fascinating is the global med spa market is worth about $21 billion in the US, and it's projected to grow substantially by 2034. The numbers are insane. There's more med spas. It's easier to find a med spa than a Burger King in the United States right now. So this is a big business, and I'm starting to see a lot of money from parts of the budget, things like that, going in this direction. So I think it's really interesting, and I think that I am a huge supporter of wellness and taking care of yourself. I believe that that is our biggest asset that we have. However, there's a lot of questions that people have about where to go, what's a good investment, what should they think about, and there's a lot of shame and guilt that a lot of people feel about spending any money on what they might consider selfish reasons or on themselves. So I want to kind of break down some of these misconceptions and help people, who are really looking at this year, making a big investment in their health and wellness and seeing what they can do to take those steps in the right way. So thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so happy to be here, Misty.
This episode of Demystifying Money with Misty Lynch is proudly sponsored by Soundview Financial Advisors. Visit www.soundviewfinancialadvisors.com to learn more.
I want to start with, okay, so I know you as Marika, but then you also go by Maria. So tell me a little bit more about you and, where you're from and kind of your story about the business that you've created.
So I didn't meant to confuse anybody, but original name that I was given is Maria, but my mother was Maria. And so in our culture, in our household, smaller Maria, it's Marika. So they throw that K in between, like in my culture, like you put junior, senior, So that's why, and then it becomes so commonly used that I really rarely turn my head if somebody calls me Maria. Maria was usually coming from teacher when I was disruptive in a classroom. So when I'm in trouble, but normally I'm Marika and I go by Marika. But you might see both of the name on Facebook, Marika Grantham. Yeah.
Okay. So just in case anybody is wondering, if you see that in two different ways in the show notes, they're both this. We are talking to Marika today. But I love that because there's some times where like I still hear Mrs. Lynch and I think they're talking to my mother-in-law. It feels like it's my name, but I'm like, no, that's her. So I kind of get where like if you're just used to something for so long that it just kind of feels like, oh, I think they're talking to me. So where are you from? Now you mentioned in your culture, so I'd love to hear more about your background and your story here.
So I'm originally from a country called Czechoslovakia that no longer exists. I was born in Bratislava, which is capital of Slovakia today. A very eclectic family household, trilingual household. My parents spoke Hungarian language between each other because they were originally Hungarians. I actually carry Hungarian nationality. I grew up during communist era, and I was just on a high school when the revolution took place and we became democratic country. Yeah. Wow. So Europe.
Yeah, so I'm Hungarian too. I love that.
Oh, Misty!
Yeah, I did not know that we had that in common. Yeah, so okay, so that makes me think of a whole nother question that I want to make sure that I circle back to about the travel med spa business, where people are leaving the US to get treatments, and that's something that I'm seeing a lot of conversation about. But I want to start by talking with you because you've, your career, you're trained as a psychotherapist before an esthetician. So what made you, and I love talking to career changers because there's usually a really good story behind what happened here, but tell me more about that transition for you and how that helps you with what you do today?
So, Misty, it's really mystical how we actually evolve in our life. And I think that's actually fueling power behind what I'm doing and how I'm working with my team, how I work with my friends and clients. And I always say our clients become our friends because the common force in my life journey was always helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I very clearly knew what I wanted to do when I was young. My father was professor of psychology. My sister was head of department of psychology. My mom was teacher. And we had a family of doctors and priests. And I was the one that always wanted to help people, but didn't want to go to academic way. I wanted to do it really in trenches. So I worked in psychiatry for a really long time. Um, and I actually started very early when I was at age 19, psychotherapeutic training while I was at the college. So that training took 5 years. And then in addition of that, I did another training for 4 years to become a trainer of psychotherapy in one technique. And then I am also certified in another technique.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I worked with people with severe mental illness, and I worked with people in trauma team, and I managed teams, and it was always kind of my force was to build the team and to build the self-esteem
Mm-hmm.
of the woman and men, but now it's predominantly
Mm-hmm.
women. I become fascinated by women for a very simple reason, because I think we are absolutely magnificent. um, we do go through so much metamorphosis in our life and journey. And so my change of my profession is a reflection of that,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a fully built career at home. I was very successful before I came here. And then I came here and I built the career here once again. So that was second time in unknown soil. I
Mm-hmm.
built the career again. And then I realized that the insurance system here and the way how system is set up here for mental illness and for taking care of people made me unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And many social services places are very dark places, actually, for many reasons, because of low pay.
Mm-hmm.
People go to college, they have the same college loans than other people,
Mm-hmm.
but yet they have no chance to compensate the pay of the same like other professional engineer or IT guys, and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. So I had my husband and two kids, and I realized I am falling behind again, like economically. So that was one thing, and on top of that was really it's a dark world. As
Mm-hmm.
much as you have a psychohygiene, you are dealing with a lot of illness, and we talked about this with your industry.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of pain as well,
Mm-hmm.
and it can go to so far. But then when you're not even compensated for it, then you are falling on a status quo of the society on a lower ladder of pay. It's really not very exciting. And I had two sons that I knew will go potentially to college, and so that was one reason. And the second reason was I always did the makeup and I always did arts and I always did played with fashion, and that's one of the things that I do as well as a little hobby. But I always loved making people more beautiful or things more beautiful, spaces more beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What I've done here is my signature.
Okay.
I design my space.
Mm-hmm.
I tiled my place, I paint my place, I do things, because I love to bring more light to the world. And that's with helping in many, many ways. It's
Mm-hmm.
how people feel when they walk at Shine. It's how we make them feel when they talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's how we make feel people being friends with and what they walk away with. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
it's that little exchange that we can have and touch another human soul and personality
Mm-hmm.
with who we are and how we can lift them up. And that's why I name Shine, actually.
Mhm. No,
I
I think
always
that's a beautiful name. And you mentioned career changing and starting up again several times. And I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with, especially like you mentioned, being trained and having degrees and certifications in something and feeling like, well, I don't want to waste that. But I think what you've said is you didn't waste anything. It
mm-mm,
all just
mm-mm,
changed and evolved in different
mm-mm,
ways. And you
mm,
mentioned some people who are in careers where they feel like they're not compensated properly have more debt, more advanced
mm-hmm.
degrees that they needed to get in their profession, which is just so difficult and it's so hard with a broken system. that isn't going to, compensate you fairly. So I love that you kind of just incorporated it and moved on and didn't see that as a I'm failing, I'm quitting, I need to make this work.
Mm-mm.
There's so many different ways to use everything that we've learned.
I don't think I ever felt that way, and I quite contrary actually gained something
Hmm.
because I felt like because my first training was head of Psychoanalytic Society of whole Europe from Budapest,
Wow.
and then so I had the best of the best, and so it was very structured and very specific. And the other one was working with imaginative world, and it's like katatim imaginative psychotherapy, which is coming from German schools. And it's like daydreaming between hypnosis and symbols, but people are in a control. We don't have a control over them. Where now I can touch people,
Hmm.
like I
Yeah.
never could touch people other than in psychiatry in a different way to give feeling of security
Mhm.
when people were, having anxiety and fears and other things going on. But now I can touch people, so I jokingly call myself shrink with a blink, because I am very sparkly.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but I feel that Freudian bed I
Hmm.
changed for medical chair,
Right.
and
Hmm.
that's the only difference.
Yeah.
But as you know, people feel comfortable when they're being taken care of, and feel like
Hmm.
there is that regressive element to that. And I just love having people and care for them,
Mm.
like that's truly what I love to do.
Yeah.
And when they look at the mirror and they feel better about themselves, whatever that is, if it's internally or externally, I just love seeing that. I love when they held them and I look at their brows and they're like, oh my God, I have eyebrows.
Yeah.
Like that feeling of that
Mhm.
the woman walks out of here with her chin a little more higher, to
Mhm.
me is the best reward.
I think, and that's something that, we can talk about because there's a lot of times where in a lot of us, no matter what we do, if we have that ability to make somebody feel secure and safe or able to be cared for,
Hmm.
whether it's children, adult, it is such a it's
Hmm.
such a great feeling to be
Hmm.
able to do that and to share that with whatever it is that we
Yeah.
are able to work with. But some people might think of med spa business and just think about beauty and just think
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
looking better on the outside. What would you say is more the, emotional wellness, beauty part of that you see when you're actually working with people and can see the transformation?
So this is where we are actually standing out. And I think this is where we are different. We do offer medical aesthetic services,
Hmm.
of course, and we do beautiful work with them. The thing is, we are not just that. There is a lot of med spas, as you mentioned, and they
Hmm.
are popping up as a mushrooms, and a lot of nurses are leaving hospitals after COVID. There has
Hmm.
been a lot of frustrations. And so, like, it was very difficult on them, serving their purpose, in a
Yeah.
hospital setting in that time. And I think, like, a lot of people feel like it's like the easiest job, which is
Hmm.
really not true, because there is a lot of hand-holding that comes with it.
Hmm.
But we are offering way more than just that. We do have a hormonal replacement therapy. We
Hmm.
don't have just medical director that oversee us. We have doctors on a site working here. They are the ones seeing clients and patients.
Hmm.
So from weight loss, that is very popular. Before it was popular, we were
Hmm.
doing weight loss. Before it was popular to talk about menopause, we were offering hormonal replacement therapy. We do revive shot, we revive shot, which is working with your tissue in your vaginal wall and helping you to be able to have a happy sexual wellness. Um, we do have IV drips, and we had them again before all these
Hmm.
IV mobiles were
Hmm.
up there running. We do focus on women to be able to live in her best optimum health possible.
Hmm.
And that comes with the responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not just our clients are not just numbers to us. It really is serious. If the woman is entering her menopause, and let me not get started there, we do really go through so many changes from the moment we get periods, from the moment we are trying to conceive, from the moment we are pregnant, from the moment we give birth, from postpartum, there is a journey itself, Our hormones are always on this like volcano kind of swirl, and then we are perimenopausal. And in psychiatry, they used to call women hysteric. They used to lock them in a psych woods and call it hysteria. There is a reason why it's called that way. And so women didn't get enough attention. And with that come also how they feel, how they relate to their spouses, how they relate to themselves, how they relate to the outside world. What happened to her skin? What is happening to her hair? Is she gaining weight now? Is she feeling attractive? What's happened to her libido? The woman that was before all excited to see her husband all of a sudden is having headache all the time, like, and all these things that happen. So when they come to us, when woman comes to us, when any of you will come to us, we send you for blood work. We want to make sure we really first investigate what is the reason and what is the medical reason before we recommend hair product or before we recommend anything, so it's very thorough. And then we also look into how we can help you to feel your best. And I am a prototype of that. And Misty, I will send you some pictures because I posted some recently where I'm doing headstand and I'm 52 and but I didn't post the pictures of me going through my facial transformation because there is a lot of taboo about that as well, and a lot of women make judgments. We offer liposuction here, I didn't even mention, diving into way more advanced things that are coming that we are actually following European market with. And I think like it's really important that women choose very wisely who she trusts to with her face, who she trusts her with her body, and who she goes to be treated, because we see a lot of things we have to correct, and I see it on brows. In my treatment room, I see it on areolas and scar camouflage because I see women with breast cancer and giving them back their bodies so they're not feeling like mermaids, and I see all that butchered work as well. And it breaks my heart to see that because they spent less money and it was convenient and it was somewhere. It's really sad world to see, actually.
Yeah, no, and I think it's important. You mentioned so many things about the whole, because it doesn't sound to me like you're just trying to get somebody to look like they're 25 again. Like that's not the ultimate goal. You're doing blood work, you're figuring out how they're feeling, what's going on, all of these things that are so important. And I think that a lot of times in any, in a lot of medical situations, women have been, under researched as far as treatments and health.
Oh, we know.
And there's so many people who will tell me, I'm going to this doctor, but I don't I can't talk to them, or I feel this way. And so there's a lot of, it's so important who you choose to help you with these, with this work. And I do feel like in some ways you tend to get what you pay for in a lot of situations. And so something that you want to do, as inexpensively as possible because you're trying to hide it. Like it ends up, like you mentioned, causing some more issues. So what would you say, say there's a woman who just doesn't feel like herself at, maybe, at this point in her life. And so she's not exactly sure what's wrong, but it just feels like something's off. You mentioned like the hormones. Well, how do you really start to work with that client to help them if they don't even really know how to say what's wrong? They're just feeling like they need some help.
So first of all, please come and reach out to us and we will have a free consultation. It's complimentary. And we really have two very skilled, specialized doctors here. One worked in ER during the COVID, works in primary care, and then works here. The other one is over 70 gynecologist that dealt with women her whole career, and it's very skilled and very experienced how to handle that. So before we even go through the symptoms, we want to find out really what is going on. And then we, based on that, have the recommendations, and they send them to labs to have a certain work done. Before they even move to hormonal replacement therapy, there is also more natural alternatives for women that is afraid. But I also want to tell women, do not be afraid, because we were really kept in darkness and scared. The label that just came off through FDA, from many, many boxes, is because women started really collecting very clear data, that the data and not investigation, but research was behind, because it was not justified, and we were treated in true reality as a secondary citizens,
Yeah.
and that's in the pay industry. That is still in many, many other ways, because we physically seems and we are weaker, which is true. We are not going to pretend we are 6'2", but we are unbelievable. We are so magnificent in what we are capable of doing. We are able to move the mountains, we women.
You mentioned that a few times, what you see in women and the strength and that power, and I do feel like there is some level of self-esteem that is, some women that come to you, women that come to me. I like, a lot of times when people come to help, it is really just this feeling of that maybe they don't deserve to do this, or maybe this is something that they should be spending their money everywhere else besides on themselves. And they feel this guilt and shame. So I know with your training, how do you help people who really feel like investing in themselves for whatever reason is wrong?
Okay, so you have to put the mask on you when you're in the airplane first before you can help anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think there was always taboo and shame attached to corrective or transformative procedures. The picture I will send you, Misty, is about me being 40 on vacation and then being 52 now. And I always thought that I am comfortable with who I am. I'm happy who I am. I felt like I'm good looking, okay looking woman. And yet I had so many things I didn't like about myself. I didn't. I had always big belly. No matter what I did, I had big belly. I had always thick thighs, and they were always meeting from midway all the way up. I was always wearing these long tops to cover up my legs. I was crossing my legs on the pictures. I always felt like my face is very cheeky, and people assume I had a lot of filler. The fact is that pictures before I had a lot of filler, I look like I have more filler in when I don't have a filler in. So it's like really funny, because I had this like big, cheeky, heavy face, and they really transformed me. My team transformed my face, and they liposuctioned my belly, and they liposuctioned my inner thighs. And I am first time in my, what normally is the age that we are like, okay, 50 and plus, feeling beautiful. And I want to share this with every woman out there, that every single woman of you can feel beautiful, and it's not necessarily about big spending neither. And there are options of pay plans and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into that. But don't feel like you can't try to change something you don't like about yourself, because there is nothing wrong about it. I want you to love yourself more, and if I can give you tools and help you with my toolbox that we have here to feel that way, energetically, hormonally, mood, weight ways, or face ways, or whatever, skin ways, I am here for you, because I went through the same journey. I never had chin. Now I have chin. This is radius. I never had chin. I had second chin. This is more fusate. I don't have second chin because we melt that fat down, So it's like, I never had the cheekbones because all cheeks were here. Now I have cheekbones, radius, So my face turned from pear into heart shape,
Mhm.
like, which is really cool. And I'm talking about it, and I'm going to have this picture public, and
Yeah.
and on the top of that, they changed my vagina
Mhm.
because I had forceps labor.
Oh, okay.
And second child was 18 months later. And I talked about sexual wellness, and I have no problem talking about this, that I developed urinary incontinence,
Mhm.
and how embarrassing this is being in your 30s, 40s,
Mhm.
and you can't do jumping jacks,
Yeah.
or
No, and
you
it's
sneeze and you pee, and then like, here it goes.
yeah.
Hell, you know.
It's funny because
So
it's so things that so many people like think about in fear, and it's just this like you mentioned this taboo, which I think it's just refreshing that you talk about it and you talk about what you went through and how you felt and what you've done and how you feel today. And I think yeah, with the sexual wellness and health, I think there's so many people who are like, oh yeah, I feel that way too, or I struggle at the gym, or all of these things that happen because I
mhm,
feel like
mhm,
nervous and
yeah.
it's just like I can't even imagine what that was like, 30, 40, 50 years where nobody was like able to talk at all about
Our
this.
mothers and our
And
grandmothers were really not having any of this support. It's really sad.
no,
I wonder how they even made it through,
yeah. No, I feel like there's just so much more. There's more now. There's more options. There's more things like people, you don't have to deal with having crooked teeth. And now everyone goes to the
Yeah,
orthodontist, all of these things that
yeah,
have
yeah.
just started to become more accepted and normal. And I think
Mhm.
when men do any sort of work with vitamins and like it's biohacking, it's not well, like it's something scientific and cool and crazy. And
Yeah,
women do it. It's
yeah,
it's it's completely,
yeah.
self-absorbed. But I do think that there are things that like you can change, you can fix, like just
Mm-hmm,
like people work on their bodies, their health, their diet, all of these things can
mm-hmm,
can be
mm-hmm.
you don't have to just obsess with how much you hate these things for the rest of your life.
And social media today, let's
Oh
face it,
yeah.
it doesn't make it any easier. You know
No,
what
we're
I mean?
seeing the
It's like,
filtered, most perfect version of everybody. And so
yeah.
sometimes I think that's why everyone is happy when they see reality. And it's
Mm-hmm,
going to get
mm-hmm.
harder and harder to tell the difference. I even was helping my son pick out a haircut, and he's like, "Oh, I like that kid's hair." And I'm like, "That's not even a real boy." Like that is an AI picture where like they will do the best they can
I
with like
know this
but you have a
AI.
human
Oh,
head with like we will
yeah.
get as close as possible, but it's just crazy. So I think that is kind of starting to impact
Mm-hmm.
the way people feel that they should be looking. So how do you help people kind of get to that best version of themselves if they're coming to you saying, I would like to look like J-Lo or this person online or me with
Yeah.
this filter that's unrealistic? How do you help people kind
Yeah.
of manage those
So
expectations and feel again happy with the
I
result?
think this is like a good question, Misty. Thank you for asking this, because I think we all have like fashion icons and idols, and that was through the whole life. And
Mhm,
I'm going to slide something there. And when Kardashian's family joined the
mhm,
scene, everybody got their eyebrows,
mhm.
and now we are removing them because blonde women should not have Armenian eyebrows, just say. So we go for trends, and that's not what we are doing here, because we are trying to really celebrate uniqueness of
Mhm,
every woman, because every painting, it's beautiful in its naturality. So what we are trying to showcase, if client comes and she sits in our chair, we have her hold the mirror and we start moving tissue and face
mhm,
and start talking about it, what we see,
mhm.
and ask what is her concern. And very often the woman comes and she will see something and we see something completely different,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm,
And this is where expertise come in. Women see nasolabial folds here,
mhm,
don't judge me, I have actually sinus infections, so I'm
mhm,
puffy here. So woman has nasolabial fold and she see this smiley wrinkle, but we see she is in her 55, let's say, and she's shortening her teeth because we are grinding our teeth.
mhm.
Most of the women in certain age start developing TMJs, so
Yeah.
mouth guard and all that
Mhm,
stuff. But we also are shortening our teeth by chewing, and our
mhm,
bone is compartmentalizing more and more.
mhm,
And so this is all shortening. So many things start happening at the same time. We start seeing that these
mhm,
areas start giving up. If we see the woman is on a sun in the summertime, and doesn't think of losing her collagen
Mhm.
because of UV rays, but it's happening. So the skin is starting to giving in, and it doesn't have the same imbalance, and
Mhm.
it start being more and more laxed. And we actually start looking at what we can start with. Is it about we need to focus on skin rejuvenation before we go with
Mhm.
any other fillers and Botox,
Mhm.
and right now very, very popular for us biostimulators, because women are also realizing it's not just about being structurally shifted, but it's also about bringing tissue and
Mhm.
quality of your skin. And biostimulators are beautiful in that. We really do love radies. In our office, we
Mhm.
love Sculptra as well. But I think we have very soft spot for radies for many reasons, because it versatility that it can gives you from structural changing to hyperdilution. So
Mhm.
you can mix it and make it as soft and hyperdiluted and bring it with cannula and the tissue as a liquidy substance.
Mm.
So it's not this like look,
Yeah.
over exaggerated look. But we talk about what we see, and we talk about what we feel like it will mostly enhance this, and then
Mhm.
we present it and we see if this is what women resonate with.
Mhm.
And you may feel, no, I want just this, and then okay, we can
Mhm.
say, but we are going to tell you, if you're not going to support this, we
Mhm.
can bring a lot of like a lot of units in here, and all what we are going to achieve, we are going to start moving your face forward,
Mhm.
and now you start going to look very different from
Mhm.
profile. So there is this fine line,
Yeah.
just like when I design brows, there is this fine line. How do I feel and how do we feel? And we do these consults actually very often, several of us together. And then we address the skincare issue.
Mhm.
But that fine line is like how we can achieve or laser treatment for
Mhm.
the skin. How do we achieve that you will get the best outcome for your money,
Mhm.
and how we can support also what we are going to do with your face structurally, so it gives you longer
Mhm.
longevity of anti-aging
Yeah.
that we are doing.
It seems like you mentioned the artistry and the science behind things a lot, which I think is when we see people who maybe have had a big change in their look and we think, oh, that look, I wouldn't want that, or that, why would they do that? And I think we see that a lot online. Why would they do that to themselves? They
Mm-hmm.
were so beautiful. And I think there is
Mm-hmm.
this pressure, but like you said,
Mm-hmm.
we might not know exactly what the right, what everything behind it, where the jaw and the teeth and all of those things that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. So I think that is so important that you mentioned that the level of training and
Mm-hmm.
medical professionals and different techniques that you have
Mm-hmm.
available to you, because
Mm-hmm.
there is so much to it. So very, very important as you're choosing as you're choosing a med spa or anything like that, to really understand kind of all of those different trainings and techniques. And what are some of the trends that you've seen? You just mentioned one, but are there any like positive trends that you're seeing
Yes.
in the wellness area that you think are important for people to be aware of that they may have never heard of?
Yeah, yeah, and we are going to be one of the flagship places for that.
Mhm.
I have this unique opportunity that we are working with the company that we are implementing here with, that is global, and seven very well-known plastic surgeons created the line together,
Mhm.
and it's working with hybrosomes. And we have our stem cells, and then we have exosomes, which are stem cells from outside, and then there are hybrosomes that are modified to
Okay.
improve the quality of the cell. And when that happens, that actually make that cell, when it's introduced, almost like coming and improving the software of your cell.
Hmm.
So this is very, very unique product, and it's
Mhm.
coming in a form of needling. It's coming in a form for face. It's coming in a form for hair growth. In Europe, they are using them when they do hair transplants to dip the hair follicles in it. They call it the bath, because they found out they have much higher retention of the
Mhm.
hair and even less hair loss with the time with it. And then it comes with the creams and skincare. So
Mhm.
we are bringing that up. So that's one of the things. Then fat transfers are very popular,
Mhm.
because more and more we are learning that more natural might be the very good alternative for a lot of women with autoimmune, a lot of women, obviously, that do not want to introduce something else to their skin. There was always PRP on the market, which is beautiful. And I'm like a walking representation of that because that's how I started with my V-Revive. There were stem cells injected down there for me. That was my first introduction, and it stopped my urinary incontinence for 2 years.
Wow.
So then nobody could tell me it doesn't work in face if it worked in my
Yeah, if
clitoris
it
and
worked
my
for you.
vagina.
Yeah.
Like hello.
Mhm.
So then I had it in my shoulder, I have it in my face, I have it in my ankle while I had the surgery. So stem cells are really beautiful way of going in a very natural way. And then you can also warm them up and make it PRF. But then we are finding out there is even more advanced way to dealing with them, and it become like a natural filler of your own. So there is many alternatives that we can do. There has been also a lot of conversations through FDA because they send this very alarming finger out there about the radio frequency and microneedling. And they said that there has been like a lot of fat loss and tissue loss. And that's exactly example when the laser and treatment is done with not proper training and very adventurous providers. Because yes, we want to use Morpheus 8 on your belly to melt the fat or on your second chin, but we don't want to use it to lose your fat on your face because then we have to bring it back and replace it. And so we have two RF microneedling devices. We have more delicate one, which is virtual, and then we have Morpheus. And then Morpheus Empower RF that is treating with all the radio frequency vaginally and Kegel exercises and body tone and all that stuff. We have so much versatility with it. But once again, it's coming to, does your provider really do understand properly the settings of the machine that they have and they work with? And, like that's where the craft comes in because the people that do Morpheus 8 here are highly specialized trained medical people, so you have to be very humble to do this.
Yeah. No, I think.
And you have to sell lower to do this than go after money. Because if you go in this industry for money, you're not going to survive in it because people feel it.
Yes.
People genuinely feel your intentions, and people feel like you're looking at them to strip them of their budget to pay for your stuff. And that is not how this industry should be. It needs to be very ethical, and we need to have interest of your face and your body and your wellness in our care, and that's what it's all about.
Right. And I think that that's so important for anybody listening, because I think whenever there's anything where there might be some, maybe there's some self-consciousness or that can be taken advantage of by an unethical practitioner, that feeling of needing to, not spend enough. This is very important. Anything that comes to your health, your wellness, your body. I mean, so important to really, to be certain that you're working with an ethical provider and somebody who is a good fit. And then maybe if it means you have to delay because you need to save more, that may be worth it in the end versus having to fix something or reverse something that was done in a way that wasn't right, which will again be more costly to your time, your money, your mental health, all of those things. So if people want to find you and learn more about you or working with you or just follow you online to see these pictures, because I'm excited to actually see these headstand pictures, which sound crazy. How can they find you if they need to learn more?
So we are on all the platforms. We are, other than TikTok, I'm still really passive in TikTok. That's my goal for the new year. We are Shine MedSpa on Instagram, and we are Shine MedSpa on Facebook. And Shine MedSpa and microblading is our website. So Shine MedSpa and microblading.com. No, shinemedspa.com is our website, sorry. And so we put the name microblading there because, it was popular when it came in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we are doing other techniques and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just listed there.
Mm-hmm.
And what else?
Yeah, so we'll include all of those links into the show notes. I think that I love hearing more about I love business in general, and I think this is such a fascinating one with the different, like you mentioned, the different treatments. There's so much growth here. There's so much, so it's super interesting to me as an investor and also somebody who's talking with people who are thinking of career changes, lots of nurses, like you mentioned, people thinking about what else is out there for me that I can do. So it's great to see you kind of making advances in this industry and being such a leader in the space and making sure that, you are kind of an example of how this business should be run, which is really client focused and done with a lot of care. So interesting to talk to you. Thank you again so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
And if
Thank
you're
you for
listening
having
and
me.
you're trying to think about where you can find space in your budget to invest a little bit more in you, head over to mistylynch.com. I would love to talk with you about your financial plan. And I think all of these things deserve a space in it. It is so, the more we talk about our own physical health, our mental health, our well-being, what we want to do, what we want to do with our money, and if it makes us happy, then I think that there should be more confidence and more attention focused on those things. So head over to mistylynch.com and you can also catch up with other episodes of the podcast there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk again next week. Don't forget to share with friends and family, and together let's demystify the world of money. Knowledge is the key to financial empowerment.